What's up, dudes? So, the man that you became today was not entirely chosen. He was manufactured to a pretty significant degree, if you think about it. So, I mean, just look back to when you were a boy, right? You thought that you were just watching movies, eating, some popcorn, drinking some soda, laughing with your friends or your family. Either you were at the movie theater or you were in front of the television with your parents and your siblings, right? But in those moments, past tense, you weren't just being entertained. You were being conditioned. And think about it, the script they fed you came through screens that were never neutral. Every frame, every laugh track, every strategic musical cue was written to shape what you believe about yourself and about women and about love. So what I want to do here is just break down, 8 movies that I believe trained men the hardest, and then we're going to go a little bit deeper into the men behind the curtain, like Edward Bernays and Sigmund Freud, and the propaganda that they pioneered, and the way that their family tree connects straight to Netflix, and then also how the screen itself, the television that you stare into, was designed to bypass your defenses. Okay? So let's get into it. Let's travel back in time, shall we, to 1989. So when Harry met Sally. So when Harry met Sally is remembered as, charming and witty and innocent, right? But the core idea is this. So men and women can't be friends because the man will always want more. And what this movie did was it trained men to, like, subconsciously train men to believe that loyalty and patience eventually lead to romance. Right? If you stick around long enough, bide your time, she'll eventually pick you. And what this does is it sets millions of men up for heartbreak. Just think of the millions of dudes that watched this movie and then that's how they responded to the woman that they, had feelings for. I mean, it conditioned them to waste years orbiting women who never intended to love them back. I mean, just think about it. That might be you. How many dudes spent their 20s just waiting quietly, just hoping and thinking that their turn would come if they just, I don't know, prove themselves to be, the one for them, for Milady. They just had to prove themselves by being available. It's a huge mistake. That script wasn't romantic at all. I mean, truthfully, it was slavery of time and attention. Unfortunately, it made men believe that patience is a substitute for standards. It's horrible. But yeah, let's go travel to 1990 here, ahead to Pretty Woman, right? Julia Roberts and Richard Gere. So in Pretty Woman, the billionaire rescues the woman, and in that process, she redeems his soul. So if you think about it, it's the inversion of Cinderella, the Cinderella story. So, but the programming here is brutal. In this film, men are taught that their value comes from saving, funding, and fixing a woman's life. And the subconscious message is very clear. You are only worthy of love when you provide rescue. But then it goes a bit deeper. Money is validation. Sacrifices is attraction. So because of this movie and what it's done to the subconscious of so many men and even women that normalize this behavior. I mean, how many men entered relationships thinking, if I just give enough, if I just fix enough, she'll stay. And that is not romance either. If you really think about it and break it down into its simplest form, it's just servitude. So the script wasn't love at all. It was just debt, right? Just debt. That's it. So yeah, trash that movie if you got it. Then we'll fast forward to 1993. I think I was 8 at the time. And that's when Sleepless in Seattle came out. Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan. Tom Hanks on the radio, Meg Ryan across the country. He's in Seattle, she's in New York. And the entire premise rests on, destiny and fate and the idea of that soulmates exist and that you don't necessarily need to take action. Life will deliver love to your doorstep. Sure, it's beautiful on screen, but off screen it produces generations of men just waiting instead of building, waiting for the perfect match instead of shaping themselves into strong men who attract quality women. So I would say that script conditions passivity. It whispered, don't worry, don't sweat, don't drive. Love will find you. And millions of men, once again, are still waiting. Still waiting. And then you want to fast forward 2 years to 1995. We got Clueless, right? Good old Clueless. The old Valley Girl flick. So Clueless, I would say looks harmless. It just looks like some harmless teenage comedy. A lot of them just seem harmless, but the programming underneath is very sharp. The entire story is built on reinvention. Upgrade your look, update your style, and suddenly you're worthy. Just a little upgrade, And men watching this movie, this idea, they absorbed, the idea that external change equals internal value. Let me repeat that again. Men watching absorb this idea that external change equals internal value. Now, that was my mistake when I was younger. External change, thought it created internal value. No, it didn't. It didn't do anything. If there was a button for me to remove all of my tattoos, I would remove them. I would. I don't care about them. I don't hate them, but I don't like them. They're just there. But yeah, if I could do that over again, I would not have gotten any of them. But yeah, so the idea here is that if you drive the right car, you wear the right clothes, or you mimic the right image, you'll finally be noticed. I mean, when I was 18, I drove a pretty nice Camaro. Tried to wear certain clothes to mimic the right image. I was punk, I was emo, I was goth, I was all these different things, right? We're all these different things. We go to Hot Topic to express ourselves in a certain way. Or you're going to Aeropostale or where the frick? Hollister, right? For all you bro dudes out there. PacSun used to be for skater dudes, and then the bro dudes took it over. I remember getting made fun of for the clothes that I bought in PacSun. I was like 99. I was a freshman in high school. Most of my clothes came from PacSun. They were dope clothes. It was a lot of skater clothes. But then, and yeah, I got crap from the bro dudes, from the jocks. But then eventually, the jocks started adopting, Chuck Taylors and all that skate apparel, and then it started getting more it just started getting super bro. I mean, if you know, you know. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, what does that create? I mean, it creates men who chase appearance, not depth. And that was my mistake when I was younger. I chased my appearance, changing my appearance, not changing the depth of myself. So you got men who measure their worth by labels on their shirt instead of the standards they live by. The script wasn't comedy. It was consumerism packaged as romance. That's Clueless for you. So, if you were clueless about Clueless, now you ain't. So toss that one too. Then we got Jerry Maguire. Good old Jerry Maguire. So the whole "you complete me" gag. Ugh. It's one of the most famous lines in film history. You complete me. Please. It's also one of the most destructive lines. This script tells men that they are incomplete until they find a woman to fix them. So what does that do? That romanticizes neediness. It romanticizes dependence and pedestalization. Once again, millions of men bought into it because they weren't men at the time. They were boys. They didn't realize what was going on to their subconscious when they were, when it was getting injected into their little eyeballs. So yeah, they built their identity on being completed by someone else. And the fallout is predictable. When she leaves, they collapse. Men take breakups pretty darn hard compared to women. But even harder for these individuals because they never completed themselves first. So yeah, that line in that movie, man, that decade, it can the 90s conditioned men to make women their oxygen. So no wonder so many men can't breathe today. Right? Come on, dudes. Toss it. 1996, Jerry Maguire, bad movie. Get rid of it. Now we'll fast forward to 1999, just as I was a freshman in high school, or they called us fish. So, 10 Things I Hate About You, which is one of my favorite movies. Don't get me wrong, I love that movie. Teen romance, Shakespeare remix of Taming of the Shrew. Great movie. Still has programming in it. I mean, I remember, this is back when there were still VHS tapes, VCRs, and I remember it was on television. I don't remember what channel, maybe it was USA or something, and I recorded it off of television, so it had commercials. I didn't, so I couldn't buy I didn't have any money. I was 14, I didn't have a job, and I hated mowing lawns. I still did it from time to time, but in the moment, didn't have any money. And so I did the next best thing, which was recording it off of television. And that's what I did. And I watched it religiously. Just wanted my high school life to be like that movie, but the programming in that movie is transformation through love, right? If you love someone long enough, if you just keep showing up, you can melt their defenses and change their spirit and, redeem the rebellion, essentially. And that's not love. That's just straight delusion. But yeah, once again, just like me, along with millions of other boys that are now men, they internalized that. They stayed in toxic relationships thinking that their patience and loyalty would transform the dysfunction into devotion. They would just do the old switcheroo, the old Indiana Jones switcheroo from dysfunction into devotion. But it never, that's not how it works. Love isn't a makeover. But this movie told you that it was. But still, I would recommend not throwing it out. I still like the movie, but just keep that in mind. You always got to keep that at the front of your mind. Okay? And then the next one, 2003's How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. So, I mean, this This is pretty flagrant. I mean, this is brazen. This one is openly about games. The entire film is built on manipulation. It's built on deceit and tricks. And yeah, we laugh at it. It's a rom-com. But I mean, here's the cost to this. It conditioned boys, young men who watched it to see dishonesty as normal in a relationship. You know, that relationships are supposed to be a game of strategy. You know, you're playing chess all the time. And, you know, young men who absorbed this script brought those games into their own lives. And then what followed? Suspicion, distrust, inevitable breakups. So yeah, I mean, this script wasn't funny. It was sabotage disguised as comedy. Not realistic in the slightest. If you want to watch it, go ahead. I wouldn't recommend though. So, but then we'll fast forward here. Still in 2003, actually. We're not going to fast forward yet. So we're going to stay in the same year. We're going to go to Love Actually. Yeah, Love Actually. Everyone knows that one. So, yeah, this movie tied a bow on the whole era, I would say. The message of this movie is love conquers all through grand gestures, right? Grand gestures. Stand outside her house, declare yourself at the airport, or like say anything and hold a boombox, right? There's a lot of simping going on in the 80s too. But yeah, basically, do something big enough and she'll forgive everything. So it conditioned you to believe that respect and boundaries don't matter and that only persistence does. And that's why men humiliate themselves, begging and pleading, buying gifts, making public spectacles of themselves. All while the woman has already moved on. That's not love either. That's desperation. But yeah, on the screen, it looked noble. And unfortunately, men copied it to their own destruction and demise. So yeah, watch Love Actually, but do not actually love that way. Okay? It's not love. And so now that we're done with the 8 movies, we're going to move on to the architects of the programming itself. So none of this happened by accident. Edward Bernays. If you're not familiar with who Edward Bernays is, he is the nephew of Sigmund Freud. If you don't know who Sigmund Freud is, then you're living under a rock, dude. Read a book. So Edward Bernays is known as they say the father of PR, public relations, aka the father of modern propaganda. What he did was he took Freud's theories about the unconscious mind and then he weaponized them for marketing and media. So he pioneered the idea that people don't buy products, they buy feelings. People don't buy with their heads, they buy with their hearts. They do. I was in sales for a long time. That's what they do. They will buy it with emotion and then they'll rationalize it with their brain later. But yeah, he was behind campaigns like the campaign that turned cigarettes into, he coined them torches of freedom, convincing women that smoking was liberation. And then his uncle Freud, old Freudy boy, he uncovered how suggestion bypasses irrationality. Bernays applied it really well. And now here's where it gets interesting. Mark Randolph, if you haven't heard of him, he is the first CEO and co-founder of Netflix. You have heard of that. And guess who he is? Well, he's a part of that same family line. He is the great nephew of Edward Bernays. So he is related to Sigmund Freud and Edward Bernays. Okay? The legacy of propaganda flows directly into the platform most people use daily to stream their entertainment. Their legacy of propaganda flows directly into the platform that most people use daily to stream their entertainment, Netflix. Freud studied the mind, father of psychoanalysis. Bernays manipulated it, father of propaganda. And Randolph digitized it. Okay? Co-founder, first CEO of Netflix. That is the bloodline of your propaganda or of your programming. Just think about that. It's crazy. And then, let's talk about what the actual screen that you're looking at does to your brain. Okay? So, in 2003, the US government issued patent 6506148B2, and the title is chilling. The title is Nervous System Manipulation by Electromagnetic Fields from Monitors. In plain English, it means this: the images you see on a television or a computer screen or your phone don't just entertain you, they interact with your nervous system. The flicker rate of the screen, the pulse of the light, can induce neurological effects without your awareness. The patent, if you can look it up, I will leave the link in the description below. The patent describes how certain frequencies of pulsing light can trigger emotional states and also alter behavior and bypass conscious resistance. Yeah, this is not a conspiracy theory. You can look this up. It is a Google patent. If you go to Google Patents, you can look it up. Like I said, I will provide the link. It is a filed, granted patent. And what it means is simple. When you stare at a screen, which we do a lot, you are neurologically vulnerable. The content doesn't just sit in your mind. The medium itself is a delivery system into your nervous system. So yeah, when you laughed at the bumbling dad, Tim the Toolman Taylor, I believe there was an episode where his wife talked about burning bras, during, so she was like a feminist in the show, like a former feminist. But yeah, I mean, when you were laughing at that, or when if you were a sad sap and you teared up, at some grand gesture, when you absorb the script of the groveling man, your defenses weren't even online. Your body was receptive. You were programmed at the level of your nerves. Just think about that. Now, combine it all. Those 8 movies, 30 years of repetition, Freud's psychology, Bernays' propaganda, Randolph's Netflix, and the patent that proves the screen itself is a weapon of suggestion. Now, what's the cost? Men who believe love is rescue, men who apologize for existing, men who wait instead of act, men who pedestalize women, men who mistake desperation for devotion, and men who wake up at 30 and 40 and 50 years old and realize their entire romantic blueprint was written by someone else. This simp epidemic can stem back to a lot of this hardwiring that was done to us as children and young men. So there is a reset that needs to happen, a factory reset. The way forward isn't despair, though. It's clarity. Watch movies as entertainment, but never again as instruction. What you see is antithetical to reality. 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10. Complete yourself first, build your frame, live with standards, Understand the script that was written for you and then tear it up. Just tear it up. Burn the sucker. Because you're not here to play the clown or the savior or the man-child waiting for fate. You're here to write your own story, dude. Write your own story. Okay, bro? That's what this channel is about, man. Dad mode and dark mode. I mean, it sounded cool at the time. I have all my electronics on dark mode because the light mode hurts my eyes. I have astigmatism. But then, yeah, also just, the topics I talk about, they're not necessarily lighty topics. So, it's kind of a double meaning, and I'm a dad as well. So, yeah. Anyways, I digress. But, it's all about reprogramming yourself as a man, as a father, if you are one, as someone who refuses to let Hollywood, propaganda, and flickering screens decide your fate. Or I should say Holly Weird. Good grief. But yeah, in closing, if this resonated with you, I would say, dude, drop the movie that shaped you most in the comments. What screwed you up? What made you believe something that's not true about women? And what caused your breakups or you to pedestalize women? And also share how you got out of it. I hope that a lot of the men watching this aren't in that situation. I hope they've already realized this, but the ones who haven't, dude, wake up, man. Take this seriously and just rethink things and stop using these movies as instruction. Just they are entertainment. Ideally, you should be reading more books than watching TV. Okay? And yeah, I got a big TV in the back, but I don't use it a lot. And and I do have video games because my son likes video games. And so as a dad, I like to connect with my son and bond with him. And then that is one way we do that, through Fortnite. So, and yeah, there's programming in video games as well, especially nowadays. So you have to be very careful about that and look out for it. It's everywhere. Be vigilant. If you've got the eyes to see it, if you've got the lens for that kind of thing, that's what I'm trying to equip you with, is the lens to see these kinds of things. They're once you see them, you can't unsee them. They're very apparent. The messaging in movies, all of it. So yeah, like I said, just drop it down below in the comment. Have a discussion. Talk amongst yourselves. This is a community where men can speak freely. Be respectful of each other. Don't be calling each other names, all right? Don't be talking crap to me, all right? I don't have time for that. So I love you guys. I appreciate you taking the time, to watch this, and I appreciate the help from from all of you that have donated to my GoFundMe here, and I'll also leave that in description as well. Things are not over, and with that, it's still ongoing. And I'm still not on the other side of it, okay? So I appreciate all of the help and support. And yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one, okay? All right, peace.